Last week was really stressful. It was more stressful than I acknowledged because in the moment, you just have to go through it. You just have to deal with it. And you can't make any excuses. And it's the week that I had been dreading, but also I needed it to happen. I needed it to be done with. So last Saturday night, I took a flight to Connecticut. I had a flight booked for the second week of April to fly out my 2 cats because we're doing the cross-country move. But due to my grandmother's passing, I adjusted the flights and made the accommodations to have both cats come with me. Needless to say, I don't know if anybody has ever traveled with cats. I recommend it. I recommend the experience to everybody. My cats were actually really good. Maybe 20 minutes after takeoff from Los Angeles, my cat Bowie threw up. And I was like, cool. You're just going to have to sit with that because there's nothing I can do. Other than that, they were good. They were really, really good. I think it was just the anticipation of waiting for something to happen. That is the worst because nothing happened other than just me sweating and being uncomfortable the entire trip. The worst part was our layover in DC. There was I was actually really surprised with I flew United, and I was really surprised with the United app. I highly recommend it. I'm not, sponsored, but I was really impressed with the app because as soon as we landed, it told me how long it was going to take me to get to the next gate. And I was like, great, this is what I need to know. I'm carrying 2 cats. And it was 23 minutes. It was a 23-minute walk to the next gate. I'm a fast walker. It was 23 minutes. I was taking a smaller jet because it was a short flight from DC to Hartford. So it was completely in a separate terminal somewhere across the world. And needless to say, I had a few people stop me and ask if I was okay. Because I don't know if it was a early morning layovers, maybe around 6, because the flight from Los Angeles left a little after, I would say like 11:30 at night. So it was, a night flight and an early morning layover. And I'm quite disheveled carrying around 2 screaming cats. So it was an experience to say the least. Once we got to Hartford, my parents were there to pick me up. And then we went to my grandmother's house. And I was able to get my cats acclimated to their new home. So they did really well. They were really excited to get out of their carriers. And then I was excited to just take a nap. The next day, we had my grandmother's funeral. It was a small, very small, a very, very small service. My mom was there, my 2 aunts. Other family members couldn't make it. And my brother, my dad, my 2 cousins, and just a handful of other people. I'd say under 20 people. They were all able to make it. It was nice. It was short. It was exactly what my grandmother would have wanted. No fuss. Just get it over with. Just put her in the ground. And that's not to sound cold. You would understand if you had met my grandmother. It was just a kind of, I'm here, now get me out of here kind of attitude. So that went well. I think what I didn't expect, and it didn't hit me until later, was the realization that all my grandparents now have passed. And there was a shift in, I feel like, my place in the family. And I haven't quite processed it all yet. But I think it was the reality of everybody getting older, not just my parents, but me. And I don't think I was ready for that. What I was surprised by, because most of the conversations that I have with my family, with that side of the family, is done through my mom. So a little bit of insight. My family, my husband, me, and my son, we're moving to Connecticut because we're going to move into my grandmother's house. My grandmother's house is in a family trust, and that is overseen by my mom and my 2 aunts and my uncle. And at this point, they have to sort out some legal stuff with, when people pass. So they can't sell the house, but nobody also wants to take care of it either. They don't want to be in charge of the expenses. So I'm moving in. I'm moving in to help them out, also with the opportunity to purchase it if we want to stay there. And I am beyond grateful for that. But when all of this talk started, it was mainly through my mom. And I had talked with one of my aunts who is like in charge of most of it. And I didn't get the feeling that it was what everybody wanted. But I also realized that there was a lot of stuff going on anyways. And maybe it was the last thing that anybody really wanted to think about. But during the services, everybody expressed how excited they were for me and my family to be moving back to Connecticut. And I didn't really expect that. But it was a really nice surprise. So even though you lose a family member, there was something really great that, came out of it. And that's this opportunity to be able to make some changes in my life and be a little closer to family. And I think that's going to be really good for everybody. I'm kind of thinking of it as a 5-year plan, just to see how things go. See how, everybody's health holds up. Not to sound grim, but I don't know. Being in this space is just kind of where I go naturally. I think you always for me, I plan for the worst. And I expect the worst. So having like an opportunity like this come from the family who hasn't always had the ability to provide an opportunity, it means a lot. As you can see, I have not processed all of this yet. I think it'll take some time. And I'm hoping, next week, maybe I can be a little bit more, maybe my perspective will kind of come together a little bit better. I obviously didn't have a therapy session this week due to the fact that I was away, but my husband did take my session, and I think my therapist just kind of wanted to see what my husband was like. So I think that's kind of fun. And my husband was glad to go. Yeah. This feels good to talk about because I feel like it lets me know what I need to process because I really haven't had a moment to sit and think yet. I literally just got back on Wednesday night and then I immediately jumped into like a meeting and just trying to get, life back together. So, yeah, I think that's it for today. Next week, we'll see how I feel, okay? This has been Therapy Notes, session 21.